Welcome back, guys, to yet another The World Within video. Today we are going to be talking about herbalism and mining and the best kind of profession builds, or at least great options, so you guys have something to consider for when the expansion launches. Before we do get into it though, make sure that you guys drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel with all the notifications on, because it helps out greatly on the channel, and it's also great for the algorithm. So, you know, it's a win-win situation for everything. But I also want to make sure to let you guys know that I have made a playlist going over all of the War Within content that I've made, all the relevant stuff that I think is good. In case you missed it, there's a playlist for that now, and every single video that I've attached to that playlist, it'll have it linked down in the description below. So make sure you check out the description for all the other videos that we've made so far for the War Within. And yeah, let's get straight into the video. The reason why I'm making one video for both mining and herbalism is because the profession talent trees are very similar, okay? And usually people also have mining and herbalism as a profession combo. So we're going to start out with herbalism. The first thing that I'll say is that botany is never going to be your first pick in any situation. There's a couple different reasons for that, and number one is because botany as itself as its own node, you'll put 40 points into it and you gain mounted gathering. You can get around this by just being a druid, and then you have instant flight form, and you will be able to pick up herbs without being, you know, that's mounted, right? So you don't even have to worry about it, because if you play a druid, and we all know druids are the best, you don't even need that talent point, right? Eventually, you want to put points into this because it does give you some profession stats, and it'll unlock your seeds, and it'll unlock your mulching. Now, that's the other reason why this isn't the greatest to go for early on, because seeds, even if you have this maxed out as you can see I have here, I've done hours and hours of gathering, okay? First of all, you unlock the ability to get some of the like magical versions, empowered versions of herbs. You'll be able to collect seeds, as you can see here, crystallized, irradiated, and spore fused. Now, these are outrageously rare, okay? You will not get a lot of these. The ones that you'll get most of are verdant seeds, and these will just give you the regular herbs. And they're really easy to use in this one location, right, in Hallowfall, but you do not get enough to justify the fact that you have to spend at least 50 points to fully maximize everything that you will be able to get out of seeds, right? The other side is mulching. Mulching is 3 different items that you can create, which is an unused item just for herbalists that will get you an increased amount of finesse on the next herb that you collect, right? So you use some materials to get more of another material, right? And that's all it is. It's very simple. But the amount of materials that you have to use on actually even using these, it does give you more. Like it's worth it in itself to eventually get. But in itself, again, if you decided to go that way, you would still have to put 10 points into botany and then 40 points into mulching. Even just 20 to get the blue version, that's still a lot of points that you could spend elsewhere on things that will probably be way more worth it. Those are the ones that we're going to talk about now. Bountiful Harvest and Overloading the Underground. That's the 2 different builds that you're going to go for. You do not want to overlap these 2 because they impact very, very different things. They do not really make each other great. They're kind of like separate systems. This one will just make every single herb in the game better, which is obviously good, and it'll also allow you to collect more null lotuses from whatever you're gathering. Now, whichever one that you want to focus on, or whichever one that you want to choose first, I would say is based on the zone that you are most likely going to enjoy gathering in. Now, some herbs do spawn a lot more in certain locations, and you'll be able to see that, like, you read that on the herb itself, right here. For Arafor's Spear, it says, learn how to handle the uncommon herb of Castle Algar's outdoors, Arafor's Spear. Then you have invest in your understanding of the uncommon alien herb of Castlegar's Caverns, okay? And then you have here, which is Myco Bloom. This is the lowest quality herb. This will spawn everywhere. And then you have uncommon carnivorous herb of Castlegar's Caverns. And then again, you have this one, uncommon blossom of Castlegar's Outdoors. So basically what that means is that, for example, on the Isle of Dorn, I've done a lot of testing. You will never, pretty much never, see these particular herbs, right? You'll never be able to see the Orbanids unless you're using Overload Empowered herbs. And still, even then, it's super, super rare. Now, because of the fact that there's different herbs that you'll find in different zones, they will have different values, and maybe sometimes one zone is better than the other. But I know, based on my own interest, but also other people that have done a lot of farming, certain zones are going to be way more fun to farm in compared to other zones. And I myself, I like Ashka Head a lot, just because I like the zone a lot. But some people are probably going to like the outdoors of Isle of Dorn as well. I think it's good that Blizzard have decided to do that. But the way that you're going to put your profession points into this is totally depending on what you will do for your farming early on, whichever one that you want to focus on, right? You could say, and also imagine, Isle of Dorn is the first zone, the one that you get introduced to, right? And the first couple of characters that you bring through, the first one you're forced to stay there, right? On your second character, you'll get Adventure Mode, which means that you can start anywhere you want. But the vast majority of players are going to start in Isle of Dorn, which probably means that most people will focus on the herbs that you can collect in that zone to start out. So you have some options to pick and choose whichever one you want to go for. These all have great uses. Obviously, which one is going to be used the most is a little hard to say. But this is where you want to go if you want to get the most profession stats and also just increase however much you get out of these herbs. And if you want to increase your chances of getting null lotuses. Null lotuses are great, so you really don't want to miss out on that. But that's your build option number 1, okay? This is where you want to put all your points if you decide to go for that. Option number 2 is you're overloading the underground, okay? This is the magical essence part. You have your leyline residue, your iridescent spores, writhing sample, and crystalline powder. And that is what these different talent nodes are for. The only thing about this particular tree is that herbalism and obviously also mining are not the only way to get these 4 different magical essences, okay? So there's going to be a lot of sources for how you can get this, a lot of different shuffles, a lot of different ways to get this. And early on, these are probably going to be semi-pricey, but since you can get them from so many different places, like you can get them from disenchanting, you can get them from unraveling, you can get them from thaumaturgy and alchemy, it's going to be very hard to figure out whether or not this is going to be a lot better than just increasing how good your regular herbs are. And not only that, this is totally based on your overload mechanic, okay? So if you decide, okay, well, I am going to focus on irradiated, right? And you put a lot of points into this, but then you suddenly, like, you put 40 points into this, but then in your zone, so many other people are focusing on it, maybe you can't even find this one, right? And then the vast majority of time, you're just wasting the points that you put into this. So I think because of the high competition early on, especially most likely around these herbs, I don't think this is going to be the better choice compared to Bountiful Harvest, because this will just increase your overall strength of your profession. Then you can slowly move into overloading the underground, and then last you can move into botany. That's the way that I am most likely going to go after it. If early on we see one of these magical essences or a couple of them turn out to be really good, then I would most likely have a secondary gathering alt that could start putting points into this, right? Because realistically, you already unlock a sub-specialization after 5 and I mean it, only 5 points, which means 45 points to max out one of these is all you need to do, which is good. It's really awesome. But also, obviously, when you're leveling this, I would say that, because you can see here, when you're leveling herbalism, you unlock these profession specs, right? So it's not going to matter which one you choose first, but when you unlock the tree, it says right here, gathering herbs and castle agar will replenish 1 vigor, and it gives you 30 deafness. And then if you choose this tree instead, then you learn the overload ability. And I would say in most cases, for making it comfortable, this is the one you want to choose first, and then you can go over and pick this tree after. We're talking maybe like an hour in between the two when you're leveling this. It does not take very long to level the profession at all, so don't even worry about that. But that's really all it is. That's all there is for making choices in herbalism. You can't really go wrong. If you decide to put all your points into overloading the underground, that's fine. If you decide to go for bountiful harvest, that's also fine. Just don't mix and match the two, because they impact very different things. But never start with botany. Never. If you decide to go with bountiful harvest first, then you could go overloading the underground, and vice versa. This is always going to be your third option to put points into, from the way that it looks right now. Now, for mining, it's very similar. Plethora of ore is the same as bountiful harvest is, and mastering the mysterious is the exact same as overloading the underground. Mining fundamentals, on the other hand, this one is a little more interesting, and the reason why I think that is because it gives you mounted mining. Now, in general, right, this, as a druid, this will save you a lot more. But if, in case you're not a druid and you don't have instant cast mounts, then every single time that you gather something, you're going to get dismounted and then collect your thing, and then you're mounting again. And it's like 2 seconds almost that you're spending on that, in case, even like if a mob interrupts you, it's even more. So the amount of time that you save, right, it could be hundreds of nodes that you get access to in an hour. So the amount of time that you save having this learned is a lot. But it is 60 points that you would have to put into it. The other two are rich deposits and seams. For my testing so far in the beta, seams are outrageously rare. So there's no way, not even a chance, that you're putting any points into this early on. Rich deposits, on the other hand, these are very common. You'll see these a lot. So I would say putting however many, 5, 10, 15, 20. It's 20 points into mining fundamentals, and then you'll get access to this, which is another 25 points. Which 45 points is a lot, but that's where you would go after you max out either plethora of ore or mastering the mysterious. Now, plethora of ore, as you can guess, right? You can no longer damage uncovered null stones when you're gathering Iron Claw. So the thing that you get is this imperfect null stone. So you actually collect null stones just in pieces when you do not have this talent point. Now, when you get it, you'll get full null stones, which is obviously very, very great. That will make getting these a lot easier, but it's also 45 points that you have to put into them. Now, here's the thing. Acarite, currently, if you want to farm this a lot, you're going to have to do this in Ashkahet. You will very, very, very rarely find it in the Ringing Deeps and Hallowfall. Very rarely. If you want to farm this at all, Ashkahet is the place to be. So, if you like farming in that zone, or if you want to cover that material, as well as the other ones, then you're going to have to farm in Ashkahet. Just saying. In case you do not like Ashkahet and you want to focus on the other zones instead, maybe for a combination through herbalism, then putting any points into Acarite is an absolute waste. You can get Acarite in some delves, but it's not enough to justify it. So, you have Iron Claw and you have Bismuth as the two options. Obviously, there are 45 points. And this will give you the refining ability as well, which is really important. So you can refine your quality 2 into quality 3, depending on whether or not it's worth it. Then that's where you would have to go. So you have that number 1 option, plethora of ore, and you put your points into iron claw, bismuth, and acrite. If you do farming in Ashkahet, then maxing out this is perfect. It's going to be great. If you want to make how good these are even better and increase your total gain of potential quality 3 materials, which are pretty hard to come by, and you want to get as many null stones as possible, this is where you're going to have to go. Now, mastering the mysterious, as I talked about before, this is, again, for the exact same thing, okay? They're a little different because in mining, you have webbed deposits, which will actually give you a little bit of cloth. It's not enough to where it's like, oh my god, I don't need tailoring now. That's not at all what it is. So that's kind of important to remember. But in general, these are pretty much the same exact thing. But here's the thing. This one will be easy mine nodes, and these can kill you. So when you're flying around, these will actually throw out little pieces of dynamite when you're trying to mine it. And you'll see here, deposit grants an additional 30% cooldown, and then you now gather from arm mining deposits much quicker, resulting in a much lower chance of a pickaxe-related accident. And then you have weeping, which is for writhing, and crystallized. So they give you the same kind of magical essences. They're just a little bit different in how they do it, and you get the bonus of cloth as well. So just consider that. Think about that for a second. This is where you want to go if you want all those bonuses and you don't just want to make your general profession better. Again, I think these are going to be very, very hard, like in general, to get, because it's also, as I forgot to mention before, for herbalism, it is the main way to get from like 75 to 100. You are going to have to collect every single overloaded herb that you can find. So that's it's pretty important to think about that. And you can potentially also, if they're very, like if there's a lot of competition around, you might not get the one that you put any points into, and it's, you know, it's a lot of potential points that you could put somewhere else. So I would probably recommend going into plethora of ore first. And then once you're done here, you can go into mining fundamentals, and you can put 20 points here and then 25 points into rich deposits, making that section of the profession even better. But in case some of these turn out to be more valuable and you want to try this out, then you could also start in this section of the profession. Maybe you only want to focus on a couple of them, and then you could go into plethora of ore and then the mining fundamentals and rich deposits. That is kind of like my thinking. I hope this video made sense for both mining and herbalism. I just kind of wanted to put my thoughts together and explain why I'm picking the talents that I'm picking. Well, potentially picking, depending on how all the markets turn out. But if you guys have any questions, anything I said in the video, or anything that I may have not said in the video, make sure that you drop that down in the comments below. And if you made it all the way to this point in the video, type bag clip down in the comments below. Bag clip. I don't know. It's, yeah, I keep looking around for random things on my table, on my desk, to be like, oh, you should totally type this down in the comments below. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.